Here's a harsh fact about life. In life, there will be winners and there will be losers. The World Cup is a perfect example of this. You can really try as hard as you can, truly put all of your effort into something, and still not come out on top. Still get a little bit unlucky. Something doesn't go your way and it doesn't work out. That's the harsh truth of life, right? You can look at the World Cup. For every Paraguayan, the story of the underdog that makes it and upsets the big dog. There's also the German who is embarrassed, is humiliated, didn't live up to expectation. For everyone that exceeds expectations, there's the one that fails to live up to the expectations. So Paraguay, they did the upset, and I'm good. Like I'm happy for them, good for them. But for every Paraguayan fan, there's the German fan who's depressed and maybe angry, probably very angry that this happened. And for every Moroccan who put their heart, soul into that game against the Netherlands, there's the Dutch player that put their heart and soul into that game who didn't come out on top. Obviously, penalty shootouts. It's like penalty shootouts. At some point, there is a little bit of a luck factor to it at that point. But competitive match could have gone either way. But and unfortunately, those are two teams that maybe would have wanted to make it deeper into the tournament, but they came up against each other for the Netherlands Morocco. Obviously, the Paraguay Germany was just a pure upset, right? And there was also like this. There was a Japan fan who was in the middle of all these Brazil fans, like waving flags at him and literally like trolling him. So for every Brazilian who makes it, for every Canadian who's happy that the team qualified, who's celebrating, there's a South African fan. There's the South African players. There's the Japanese fans and players that are kind of distraught and depressed and in despair because they're out of the tournament and they got to wait 4 years to go and try again, right? They were optimistic about maybe making it further, right? South Africa, maybe not as much because I think it was already an upset for them to make it out of the group. But in life, that's a real, true case. It's like that is a real truth of life. There are winners and there are losers. And sometimes there's nothing you could do about it. Sometimes you could just truly go and try your hardest. But, like, for example, not everyone who starts the business and works 10 hours a day and grinds for years and years and years will actually make it big, right? You're making great sacrifices for uncertain returns. There are the people that did make it big, and I truly am of the belief that like if you work hard enough, you will make it happen in some way. But like I'm truly of the belief that God will merit your hard work. He will reward you for your due diligence in some way, shape, or form. Maybe not in the exact way that you want. That I'm truly a believer of that. But you can very well work super hard on a business and it doesn't make it big. Maybe because the idea wasn't very good in the beginning. Maybe something went wrong along the lines. Maybe you were just working hard on the wrong things and you didn't really realize it. You didn't really notice it. You didn't have enough feedback on stuff. You can do that. And then there's always also the person who does that and makes it big. You see all the success stories on the internet. And you see it in the S&P 500. You see it kind of in like the business world. The people that really did just grind from the start. Maybe they had some help. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they were self-made. Maybe they had some help from the parents. However they made it, they managed to make it happen and they managed to make it big and they're the winners, right? I guess from a monetary perspective, they're the winners. They're the successful people from a money standpoint. For everyone who is there, there's the person who tried and spent their life doing this and it didn't work out for them. And maybe unfortunately they live with a lot of regret and they kind of have a bad life now because they put all their eggs into this basket and it didn't work out, right? That's the story you don't necessarily see that often, right? So that's why you have so many people that are going into entrepreneurship that maybe shouldn't be in entrepreneurship because they just don't have it. They don't have that gung-ho type of style and mentality and they're only kind of half in, half out because the fact they want that end result, but the amount of work that you need to take to get there, it's something like it's very tough, right? It's something very tough and it's more than maybe you even realize, right? But that's really the truth, is that sometimes you can do it all right, and you still end up with the short end of the stick. You still end up losing, right? But the one thing that I think makes the most sense to this whole concept and idea is if you don't start, you don't try, you're guaranteeing that you're going to be losing. You're guaranteeing that you're not going to make it to where you want to go. So at least you got to play the game, right? You play the game, right? Continue with like the World Cup example, team like Italy, right? They guarantee that they're not going to win the World Cup because they're not in the World Cup, right? So they're kind of the laughing stock, obviously. I don't need to go too deep into that because if you know, you know, right? the clown show that is the Italian football national team. So when it comes to winning and losing, it's like you have to take that risk. You have to play that game, whether it's a business thing, whether it's a sports thing, whether it's like an academic thing or a career thing, relationship thing, right? If you don't ask the girl out, you're never going to have an answer. You're guaranteeing that you're not going to have an answer. You ask the girl out, it doesn't happen, she rejects you or she insults you or whatever it may be, right? Or she says yes, right? Like that's also something that I have to work on as well personally in my life as well. But like that's another small example of like you don't play the game, you're guaranteeing that you're going to lose. You're guaranteeing that you're going to fail. But if you play the game, you lose, you fail, you go through the humiliation, you can use that as fuel to potentially win the next time, right? You can look at like again, continuing with the football example because again, World Cup, it's a pretty topical example. You can look at Argentina, right? 2014 World Cup. They made it to the final, they failed, right? They didn't make it happen, right? Messi didn't make it happen, right? Maybe the team, like in my opinion, they didn't have as strong of a team back then, but like the team that they won in 2022 with was a way stronger team than they had in 2014. It really was a case of like Messi carrying them. Like again, like you're playing against Iran and Bosnia in the group stage and barely beating them only because Messi pulled out a moment of magic, right? So they didn't have as good of a team back then. But in 2022, they made it happen, right? I guess they learned from their mistakes. There were a couple of the players that were there in 2014, Messi included, of course. But you had Messi, you had Otamendi, you had Di Maria still there, right? A couple of players that were there in 2014 that learned from the mistakes and helped maybe the more younger core of the team pull it all together, right? And they won it in 2022. Messi got his cup, and now you're here in 2026, and they actually look just as strong and just as good. And Messi looks like he's not even aging, right? But that's an example of like they had the heartbreak, they had the losing moment, and then they came back and they made it happen later on, right? So in life, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. You can go, you can try, you can make it happen, you can put all your heart and soul into it, and it just doesn't work out, right? But you can learn from those mistakes to end up hopefully getting to the point where you win. Maybe you don't ever win, but it's better to try than to not. It's better to keep on going, keep on trying to batter the door, right? Keep on trying to smash the door down, right? Then not. Maybe you won't succeed, right? Maybe it won't happen, but at least you can go to your grave, end this life, knowing that you gave it your all, that you tried your best, that you really did put your skin in the game, you really did play the game, and put your full maximum effort into it, put your heart and soul into it. And if it didn't work out, it didn't work out. I think that's something a lot more noble to that, and it's a lot more, you can be at a lot more peace and fulfillment in yourself, knowing that you tried your hardest, you went your hardest, you played the game and it didn't work out, and you just happened to be a little bit unlucky, you happened to be on the wrong side of it, right? So for every success story, there's the unfortunate failure story. But even for those that don't really make it successful, they could probably end up doing better in the long run because they learn from their mistakes, because they can accept that it just wasn't meant to be, and then they move on and they try something else and they make something else happen, right? The type of person that will be able to do that is the type of person that will jump into the game, that will take those risks, that will accept the rejection, that will accept that there will be failures, but on that path to hopefully what is an eventual success. But yes, it's an uncertain path. It's an uncertain success. It's the path of most resistance. Those types of things that you're going to go through in your life, whatever your pursuit is, whatever the path you're trying to go on. There are winners, there are losers, and that is the truth. And you got to accept that, and you got to accept that if you don't do it, you don't start the thing that you want to do, then you're going to guarantee that you're going to be on the side of the losers, right? You want to have some skin in the game. You want to take that risk, because if you lose, at least you tried. But if you win, then of course you reap the rewards of winning, right? Obviously, we all want to win, right? There's 8 billion of us on this earth. I'm sure each and every one of us wants something out of our lives, right? But unfortunately, you just, like, not everyone's going to get it, right? Just the luck of the draw, based on where you're born, based on your circumstances, based on how much effort you put in. There's so many factors going into whether or not you will actually make it. And then just the pure old-fashioned luck, the pure old-fashioned God's hand, God's will for your life. Whether or not you'll make it to whatever success looks like for you. It can happen or it can't happen. But I think the overarching message here of this whole lesson, this whole teaching, is to say that You got to take that risk. You got to put your skin in the game. Whatever you want to achieve in your life, if you're not going to do it, you're not going to take that risk, you're guaranteeing the failure. You're guaranteeing that you're going to be on the side of the losers. But if you go and you take the risk, then you will either be on the side of the winners or the side of the losers. But that's the only chance that you have of being on the side of the winners. And we all want to win in some way in our life. We all want to get there to that, whatever it may be, right? Before I wrap up this little concept, I'll give a personal example of my own life, where it was my whole football journey, right? I feel like I'm still kind of grappling with this whole idea of like, yes, I took the risk. I left high school and I went to Portugal instead of taking the standard path to go to university. And then at the end of it all, I'm ending up going to go to school anyway, right? So at the end of it all, it's like, well, was it even worth it, or was it just 3 years wasted in my life? This is still a very deep, harsh question that I'm still trying to answer. I still don't have the answer for in my own life. And I think the more I think about it, the more I'm like, well, first of all, the journey's not over. First of all, there's so much more left in my life. I'm still super young. And second of all, I think it absolutely is worth it, because I could have just lived my life. I always had this dream, right? I could have lived my life not even trying to go for this dream. And maybe I would have lived with even more regret that I never actually tried. And I guaranteed failure. I guaranteed that I wasn't going to make it. Whereas if I actually went out there, I actually tried, I actually gave it my all. And again, it might not be over. I think maybe it might be, it might not be, but in terms of that era, I tried my hardest. I was in there, I was out there, training with professional teams, going on the trials, going at it, developing as a player, and I got so much better as a player, learning many different things about mentality, specifically when it comes to athletics, when it comes to all aspects of life, the importance of a strong mind and discipline and going through the difficult things and the mindless repetition and the boring nature of repetition and what you have to go through to actually make it. I went through all of it and I didn't make it, right? And was it because of me, or was it because of just bad luck? Was it because of God's will? I honestly don't know the answer to that question at all, right? But at least I can say that I went out there and I tried. I went out there and I made it happen. And I mean, I personally think that maybe I could have given more, but maybe that's just me. Maybe that's just my insecure overachiever side, where it's like, you could have done more. But I think I did a lot, and I think I really went for it. I really tried my hardest to try and make it happen. I really worked hard when I was out there, when I was really trying to make it happen. So it didn't work out for me, and I guess as of now, you can say that I'm on the side of the losers, but at least I tried. At least I had the chance, the opportunity to make it to the side of the winners, especially considering the circumstances that I was in, coming from the background that I came from, coming from the situation that I came from. I was never put in an academy from a young age. Like, I never actually had the talent. Like, when I was young, I was not a good player, but I developed that over time, and through just sheer determination, through sheer dream, wanting it, going for it, tried my best to make it happen, was out there in those professional environments, got to those heights, and it might not be over yet, but at least as of now, I look back and it's like, you know what, at least I tried. At least I did something that so many people wouldn't have the courage to do. And I did it with full assurance of faith and developed a relationship with God while I was out there to grow my faith even more, to grow even more courage about all of this. So I can at least have that. Look back and say I tried, right? And I say that, like, it also helped me develop my relationship with God in a greater way. So even if football wasn't the overarching goal, overarching plan for my life in accordance with God's will, it helped me as a great stepping stone to learn many great lessons in my life, to apply them in many ways to whatever future endeavor I decide to go on. I'm still searching for it, I'm still looking for it, but at least I tried. I didn't win, at least not yet, but probably not at all. I didn't win, but at least I tried, at least I went for it. And I think that's really worth more than not even trying at all, being stuck in your shell, being fearful of everything. I think it was worth it. And I think when I look at it from that perspective, when I look at it from truly like a logical, no emotions involved, I think it was truly the right decision. I think it was truly worth it. And absolutely, I'd go and I'd do it all over again. Maybe I'd do certain things differently. Maybe I'd tweak a few things to maybe give myself a little bit of a better chance. But I would definitely go and do all of it over again. So the point of this episode is to talk about this interesting concept, that maybe shed light to the fact that yes, there's the winner, there's the loser, right? The World Cup's a very big example of this, and as the knockout rounds progress, there's going to be more upsets. There's going to be that team that is the underdog that upsets the giant. But then, like, you remember, oh, like, they had the giant, they had these expectations, they had this standard, and they failed miserably to live up to it. So they have to go through the despair, the shame, the guilt that come, like the kind of the rebuking, right? Like the fans are gonna rebuke them, they're gonna boo them, they're gonna, they're gonna hate them, they're gonna be the laughing stock for a little bit. They're gonna have to go through that. But like the underdog story, the team like Paraguay that made it, that upset the giant, they have like just the greatest moment, right? The greatest memories, the greatest rejoicing, right? The parties, right? That they get to rejoice in. So in every situation in life, you'll have the winner, you have the team that made it happen, and you have the loser, the team that kind of was just on the other side, that couldn't perform, that couldn't pull it through for whatever reason, whether it was bad luck or just purely they just had a bad day. Especially in tournament football, that's the case. But in life, that is absolutely the case as well. You will have winners, you will have losers, but you got to try. You got to put your skin in the game. You got to give it your all. Otherwise, you're guaranteeing that you're going to lose. The only way you can even have the chance of winning is by stepping in there, by taking that risk, by overcoming those fears, by stepping outside your comfort zone, and actually trying to make that thing happen that you want to have happen in your life, whatever that may look like for you. So that's the point of this episode. That is the concept that I have today to talk about. It was just an interesting idea that was kind of in my mind when I was looking at the World Cup games. When I was you look and you're on the field, the team that's celebrating, and then you have the team that is just crying in despair. Not everyone can win. You can't win, right? There's only one winner of the whole World Cup, right? It will only be one team. Everyone else will be in despair, right? Obviously, other teams have different standards. Like for Paraguay, if they go and they have to play like France in the round of 16 and they get destroyed by France. At least like for them, it's like they're still content with what they did in this tournament, right? Whereas like one of the bigger teams that want to make it to the minimum semifinals, they didn't even come close. That is, that is the standard that they didn't reach, and that is the losing factor that they went through. So you need to understand in your life, you have that choice every day when you wake up in the morning, what you're going to do. Are you going to at least try to become that winner, or are you going to stay exactly where you are and guarantee basically that you're going to lose in some regard, whatever it may be, right? Whatever aspect it may be. If it's business, if it's sports, if it's academics, if it's relationships, if it's a career, whatever it may be, are you going to guarantee that you're going to lose, or are you going to give yourself the chance of winning even if you lose? You can still look at it and say, at least we tried, right? At least you gave it your all, right? That's a question you have to ask yourself every single day, and you have to back it up with meaningful actions that move you in the direction you want to go in your life. That is the concept I have for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it gave you some insights, some sort of a knowledge in some capacity, some sort of a perspective that may help you move forward in your life. But I think that really is the truth of the world. There are winners, there are losers. Sometimes there's nothing you can do. The only thing you can do is put your skin in the game and give yourself the chance of becoming a winner. You might become a loser, but if you fail, if you don't take action, you're guaranteeing that you're going to be a loser. So, and I don't think anyone wants that, truly. No one wants that. So it's about your decision to take action every day in your life. Thank you for watching this episode. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the show on YouTube. Follow on Spotify. Share this video and many other videos to those that you think will benefit from this stuff. Those the people around in your life that you think will be interested in this type of content. I appreciate anything you can do to help the growth of the show out in any way that you can by engaging with this episode. And by watching some of the other great episodes I've made on the show. I'm covering the World Cup a lot, as you know. I'm talking a lot about the World Cup. I made some predictions a couple days ago, and I made some interesting comments, some interesting stuff. I've made many great episodes on this show already. It's 365 Podcast. It's an episode every day for a whole year. So I encourage you to go watch some of those once you're done watching this one, and yeah, like, show your support in any way that you can. Even just you being here, I appreciate you for being here. So thank you for watching this episode of the 365 Podcast. Continue to glorify God every day throughout your life. And as always, I'll see you tomorrow for the next one.